Okay, before we get into the podcast this week, I just want to thank our sponsor for the month, Triptych Press. Our buddies over at Triptych Press specialize in getting new businesses up and running, as well as keeping old businesses running. They provide design services, including logos and branding, websites, and e-commerce shops. They'll design and print all your brochures, mailers, banners, and posters. Whether you're just starting out or your business needs a makeover, visit www.triptychpress.com for all your design, online, and printing needs. Welcome back, Inebri-art. This is Andy, the Inebri-art podcast. We are back again at the Craft Beer Cellar on Main Street, Plymouth. If you happen to be in the Plymouth, Mass area and you're thirsty, stop in the Craft Beer Cellar and check out their craft beers and boutique wine selection. They're always kind enough to let us record here. And so I met today's guest at the kickoff to Plymouth's public art project that they're calling the Scallop Roll. And it's...
Is that out? Can we talk about that?
It's out enough
That's good enough.
People
That's
know
good.
about it, you
That's
know. So they're basically putting 30 or so fiberglass scallop shells, all painted by different artists. I'm doing one, and Keith Favazza?
Yes.
Oh, sweet.
Very good.
Is doing one as well. So welcome to the show, Keith.
Thanks for having me, Andy.
So we met there, and I'm going to be completely honest. One of the things when I was checking out your website that made me go, oh my God, I have to have Keith on. You used to work for Child's World.
I did.
And
do you have Child's World ties?
I used to shop there as a child. So
that's on the website, huh?
Yeah.
I worked there for 6 years.
So you're an illustrator, but just kind of give us some background. What is it that you do?
Well, I actually started off in the 70s as a caricaturist.
Yeah.
I used to be, do all those shows, and I saw you had, someone on.
Mm-hmm.
And I went to the streets and drew in the streets and did all that. But, you really cannot. I still have a sign, and I was doing them $4 a drawing.
Oh, yeah.
So, yeah.
That's got to be a while ago, huh?
Yeah. That's I started in the early 70s, right through the mid-70s. So... to raise a family, I had to do something to make a little bit more money. So I became a graphic designer.
Mm-hmm.
So I worked for, Child World was before that. So I wasn't the staff illustrator for them.
Yeah.
Which was, I drew Peter Panda every day.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know
oh,
Peter
sure,
Panda.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of in-store drawings of him and Jeffrey Giraffe, the Toys R Us. Yeah. It was Jeffrey. Yeah, I forget his name.
Yep, Jeffrey.
Yeah. And we had a lot of fun with it. But yeah, I drew him every day, and I'm like, I couldn't believe that was work.
Right.
But yeah. So after that, I had a 15-year stint with Franklin Sports, where I drew sport players and graphic packaging and stuff like that. But lately, I just want to illustrate. That's my love.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that so? When you started back in the caricature days, was that kind of what you wanted to do? And
I mean, I guess I didn't think too much. Like, how can you make a living at it? Right from there, I was drawing for Channel 4. I did their series. They had series after series. One was a non-smoking. One was your finances.
Mm-hmm.
One was Blizzard of '78.
Oh, sure.
I did a whole series on that, and we called it Button Up Your Overcoat.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I would drive in the snow, and you don't even want to know how much, but I mean, I was just thrilled, as someone early 20s, young, just to be working for Channel 4. So, I'd finish one project, and then another producer would get me for something else, and it was great. So I was still in the caricature stuff. I used to do all the anchors.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to draw the anchors, and then, all the scenes to do with finances or the blizzard of '78.
So kind of like the graphics that they would use during.
Well, they would. Yeah, they don't do that stuff now. They used to have. I used to have this big card, and they used to just put I don't know what they just called an art card.
Yeah.
They used to flash. You don't see anything even looking anything remotely like that now.
Right.
Yeah. But my art cards would come up.
Computer days.
Oh, gosh, yeah. I mean, would I go back to those days? No. It had some, something to it where everything was hand drawn. Right now I do a lot of stuff that I can get references and stuff. And back then there was, the library and needed to draw somebody, holding, I don't know, somebody on a snowmobile. You have to, what does a snowmobile look like?
Right,
and you have
so
to look it up. Yeah. I remember driving to Boston looking up, a good library. Yeah, it's like, I'm glad those days are gone.
Yeah. Right now you can just Google it on your phone.
Yeah.
Are you from the Massachusetts area originally? And
yeah, originally from Boston. I spent most of my life in Rockland. I spent 54 years there, but we just moved here 2 years ago.
And so, at what point did you really get into art? Were you kind of always been?
Always, yeah. And days like today, it's raining out, and I used to love it. I was like everyone else. I played sports outside and loved outside, but I loved it when it rained out because as a kid, I just remember, love just drawing and stuff inside. Mm-hmm. So,
do you remember one specific spark that kind of got you into it? I remember when I was a kid, to me it's very clear. The thing that got me really into drawing is every Saturday morning I'd wake up and draw with Captain Bob.
Oh, Captain Bob, yeah. No, he was very popular. Probably the funnies. I mean, Andy Cap or even Norman Rockwell I used to like because someone like Norman Rockwell. Well, Andy Cap, it was a little storyline, and but Norman Rockwell he illustrated, and I remember my art teachers really didn't like him because he was not a painter, so to speak. He was an illustrator. He would tell a story, and I like to tell a story with the drawing. You don't need words. You just look at it, and you can see. The more you look at it, it's more interesting. You can see he's trying to create a story. Mm-hmm. So I would say Norman Rockwell, and just
I find it funny that your art teachers didn't really like him.
No,
I feel now
they didn't.
You can't find anyone who doesn't.
They didn't
appreciate him.
Commercial. If something was published on an album cover or something, I mean, I'm talking about fine artists that didn't like them. Yeah.
So they were more kind of
just
the masters, and
you can't. I don't know. It's to each his own. But now I.
So now your passion is illustration,
right? And
what have you been working on with that?
Well, I work for publishers. I have a rep, but I also work with a few other publishers, and I'll get a manuscript, mm-hmm. and I'll read it. Sometimes it's a whole manuscript. Sometimes it's just a few sentences. And right now I'm doing stuff on Egypt, and while I'm doing it, I wind up learning a lot.
Right, sure.
Yeah, because that's the fun part. Drawing history and you're learning this stuff.
Are these more like nonfiction or fiction books, or?
I think they're. I don't see a lot of. I don't see it in print, or I don't. I just do the job and move on. But I think they're a lot of them for English to learn English, and and it's like a learning, thing. Yeah. For instance, I did a number of years back. I did books for Museum of Science, but they were doing EIE, engineering is elementary. Okay. So they were promoting engineering, but it was kind of a dry subject, and they needed some artwork. So mm-hmm. they would do. I would do children storybooks incorporating culture. So we did in El Salvador, or we did just different countries and how they would approach an engineering problem. So I did a whole series of those.
So it sounds like a lot of what you do is research kind of on the subject.
Yeah, and that's what, every job is so different. That's, I love, like, not knowing what my next project's going to be,
Yeah.
And this scalp thing is going to be interesting, too. It actually get me off the computer. For you can't hit the delete button.
No, there's no back. There's no back.
On my last thing, I did
undo. Yeah.
I did a chair, and I had buoys on the chair, and it was a nice,
like an Adirondack chair.
Yeah, Adirondack chair, and I had a nice, I wanted a colorful. And then I said, there's got to be a storm in there, so I put a storm. Then I had a bird walking along the, I call it the dock because it resembled a dock. And I said, well, this bird can't be walking if the storm's coming, so he's going to be flying. But I already painted him on there. I couldn't, erase him, so I had to paint over him. But I don't mind.
Right. That's kind of part of the process.
I grew up, not doing computers.
Right.
So I have I love it, and I don't mind not doing it. So I like both.
So do you do a lot of your illustration work on computers now?
Yeah, I do.
Was that a big, when did you see the big switch? Because, obviously, if you worked in the 70s, there was...
in 94, I got my first computer. I held back. I didn't want to get it. They came out in, the late 80s, and I just, I'm not getting this thing. I'm not drawing on this.
Yeah.
But, and there was that awkward stage where everything looks computerized,
Right.
But now, I have a pen. I have an iPad Pro, but also I have my Mac with the Wacom tablet.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one is the iPad Pro. You draw right on the screen. And the other one, I have a tablet, and I'm used to both of them. But I actually do my sketch in Photoshop. It's my hand, and I use a pencil tool. There's brushes and pencils, and I use a pencil tool, so I don't really see the difference anymore. I see I get the difference. Paper, you can hear the...
Yeah, to me it's like a textural thing.
I know.
The screen is... The only way I can describe it is slippery.
Right, and
someone's told me you can get almost like a screen protector that you can put over it to give it some texture.
Oh, I don't. I was wondering if they could do that, but I do a lot of mine on my computer, which has a Wacom tablet, which it's kind of not as smooth.
Right.
Maybe because of all the times I've ran my pen across it. Over the years, it's become almost like that. Like a matte finish. Yeah. So, and I have different tips that I don't really use. I just use one, but yeah, I don't know the future. But I know the present right now. I'm enjoying everything.
It's really something that I need to get into and spend some time with, because a friend of ours is a big. He's always drawn on his iPad, and he showed us this software that mimicked watercolor.
Yeah.
Amazingly well.
It was probably just the brush that
maybe. But
well,
no, I think it was definitely the software, because he's like, oh, you can press this button and it's dry instantly, and you can put a layer underneath, and you can do all the Photoshop things and all the watercolor type things with it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I know there's some things that can change it, and I don't like the stuff that if you have something you can just change it with a click.
Yeah.
On my drawings, it gives you can have pens and brushes, and you can choose what you want to use.
Mm-hmm.
But you're choosing it, and you can give it all these actions, or I don't know what you call it, if you want it to be drier or whatever. Yeah. So, and then once you get that pen or pencil, then you draw. It's all you. It's all your drawing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then if you screw it up too bad, you just hit the back button.
You know what I found? That a lot of the stuff, it's in me to do, but I think it, because of the computer, it allows me to execute what I always wanted to do.
Mhm.
Because I've looked at some of my old stuff, my old drawings. I have a garage filled with stuff from the 80s, and a lot of it's unfinished.
Yeah.
A lot of unfinished stuff that I got frustrated with.
They couldn't quite get your vision out.
Couldn't get it out.
Yeah.
You draw the head too small, and I'm like, I tossed it. But with a computer, it allows me to figure it out, to make it better. And I feel it's all me.
Do you feel there's less when the transition happened in the 90s? Do you feel like there's a lot of kind of pushback from the artists who grew up with the different way, and do you feel like that's gone now?
I think it's getting less and less. I think at the beginning, a lot of the people that couldn't draw, what happens is that you have people that have claimed to be artists that like trace over things, completely trace over, which you can do. I mean, you can do that. You can't call it your own, though.
Yep.
And there's a lot of people that have become artists because of the computer, but you can see the ones that actually use it to their, as a supplement to their, talent.
Right.
It's like
a technique, but you
like
can see those people that do it for everything.
Well, I just don't know. It's like in any trade, if you have a better tool, why would you use an old tool if you have a new tool?
Sure.
Unless the old tool got you, something unique that, no one can duplicate, but obviously we have to do the old way with the shells.
Yeah, the shells are going to be pretty much
paintbrushes. It should be. Yeah,
it's really interesting to see what everyone comes up with. Last time, some people went all out. There was the last one was lobsters.
Yes,
for our listeners.
Yes.
But there were people that carved wooden sculptures, and built a base to go around it.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, it ended up the lobster looked great, and the second year the base was gone.
Right.
It wasn't designed to. It's I get it, but some people don't really think about it's just out in the public. And,
right.
You're gonna have people who purposely break it, and people who just accidents happen. Right.
It's got to withstand the weather and everything. Yeah. Besides the people.
Yeah. Who's your sponsor?
Chamber of Commerce.
Oh, that's right. That's right.
Yeah. So it was a little tough because I had to be, they're pretty neutral and,
it's definitely not a project for everybody, and I've talked with a couple of other artists who actually put in for it and either backed out. I shouldn't say backed out because that makes it sound like they chose. They thought otherwise, because some artists just I just want to do what I want to do, and this is not that kind of project.
They didn't want to do it in general?
Well, kind of they're like, oh, I have my sketch ready, and they're like, well, you have to have a sponsor first. Meet with your sponsor and talk about ideas, and I don't want to do that.
Yeah,
so it's not that they backed out, it's just it was something different than what they thought.
Yeah, well, I'm used to that, I hardly ever do my own thing, in my work, so, I'm constantly trying to. Well, here's the thing. You. So
let me ask you this question: how do you take something that might not interest you? I can't say the Egyptian thing because that actually sounds pretty cool. But if you had to do, I don't know, something more mundane, how do you stay focused on it? How do you make it your own? Well,
let me see. There's two kinds of. There's sometimes I have to do work like that.
Yeah.
And if I had to draw a bush, that's it. I just had to get through it.
Yeah.
I just had to get through it. But if I have to draw something that has a possibility of being interesting, then I just had to draw a picture of a bored kid. He was fishing. So how could I make that interesting? So I had to have him with a fishing pole in his hand, and I just had to make that environment better than it was. So, I mean, Yeah, there's some ways that you can avoid it, but you do put your own style into it if you can to make it interesting.
Have you ever turned down a project because you're like, that's not what I want to be associated with, or this is just, I don't feel like I'm a good fit?
Oh, that's a good question. I can't think of anything lately.
Yeah.
I remember in Child World, by the way.
Yeah. We can talk about them. They don't exist anymore.
I barely remember. It was I got the job in 81 to 87. That's why I worked there for 6 years. So I was there.
I was definitely shopping at Child World at that age.
I was there line art. They called me a line artist.
Yeah.
I don't know. So I would do anything to do with drawing. I would do. So I would do pictures of the product, and there was a Michael Jackson doll that came out.
Yep, I remember that doll.
So the doll was made like not very good. His face didn't look like him.
No.
So I drew it the way it looked like, and they said, no, take Michael Jackson's face and draw him exactly. And I said, no, I can't do that. It's not the way the doll looks. I'm not portraying him right.
Oh, so you felt like you're kind of like misrepresenting the
Yeah. That's really not what you asked him, but it's a little taste of it. And I don't know if there's any big projects that I've turned down. I probably wouldn't approach something that I didn't believe in,
that would have been like
socially or
that would have been probably my dream job as a little kid, because like that's when I was like into G.I. Joes and Transformers, and I was drawing them anyways, not well because I was pretty young. But like that was the heyday.
Yeah, that was good.
Star Wars.
Oh, I drew a lot of Star Wars. Yeah, I did Star Wars with Smurfs and stuff like that. Yeah. But before you just reminded me that actually around that time, what I like to do was politics and sports. So I'd be into drawing like pen and ink with Richard Nixon and all that stuff. Watergate,
like those classic political cartoons.
Political cartoons, yeah. I would love doing those. I did that in college. Mm-hmm. I was the college. I went to Bridgewater for a couple of years, and I was a college cartoonist. Yep. And I got in trouble quite a bit with.
I do that.
I did. Oh, I did it though.
Yeah,
I did it. I had the president of the college. Thinking back, I don't know what I was doing, but I had him as Cupid flying in the air, and he didn't like that.
Right.
Yeah, I had him as the Easter Bunny.
Yeah.
I had the police ticketing tricycles, the little teeny kids' tricycles, because at the time they were ticketing everybody.
Yep.
And I was just making a statement,
Right.
So I made a lot of statements, and I got some people mad at me. Not a lot. Usually the president.
I feel like that's the age where you do that sort of thing.
Well, I never got shut down, so they let me do it.
Do you ever still do or think to going back to that? Because I feel like the political climate right now is like so ripe.
Yeah, I've gotten in trouble a little bit from some of my latest. I have tried just before the election. I figured the outcome, and I did a cartoon, and I've been doing a number of them, but if time permitted, I'd do more. But yeah, the climate is pretty ripe for that stuff. Yeah.
It was. I get to draw Trump a lot because I picked up a gig right. I think it was just prior to it had to be prior to the election. Doing sketch cards for a trading card company. They're putting out. And it baffles my mind that people buy these things, but they're like baseball cards, but they're political cards.
Oh yeah,
it was Decision 2016, and it was all about the campaign.
You did them?
I did. They had sketch cards.
Oh yeah.
So basically, they send you out. I don't remember. It's like 20 something cards, and then you do original sketches, and then they include them in the packs as kind of like chase cards. So there's like one in every 30 packs or something like that. So it's kind of like a special card they include.
Oh yeah.
And so like the collectors go crazy for them because they're super limited.
Right.
So I got to draw Trump and Hillary, and Trump and Hillary, and Trump and Hillary,
right,
and more
right.
Trump and Hillary.
Yeah.
Initially when I took it, I thought I was going to be able to, he's like, oh, it's about, presidential stuff. I'm like, oh, cool. I can draw Lincoln. And I was thinking more like historical stuff. And then they sent me a list, and it's like, you have to draw Melania and...
Oh, right.
I can't remember who Hillary's running mate was. I had to draw that guy.
And
he was like incredibly generic.
Right, right, right.
I'm like, how am I going to draw this guy?
And we can't even remember his name.
Yeah, I'm like, likenesses are hard enough, and this guy looks like every other politician.
Isn't that funny how some people are generic?
Yeah.
Once I spent like a whole night trying to draw this person. That's why, it didn't have...
There's nothing that makes them them.
Yeah.
So that's something that I feel like I've really worked on the past couple of years is getting likenesses, and to me it's a ever continuing process.
It's fun, yeah.
Is there a trick?
I think just studying the person.
Yeah.
Because photograph doesn't show how like they raise their eyebrow and so forth, you know. You can, anyone can draw like someone with beard, but to get the likeness, you know, like you have to study their personality a little bit.
So you think it's a little bit of personality? And
yeah. I used to like Paul Zepp, and he's still doing political cartoons.
Yeah,
and he knew how to do them. Actually, his
people are just easy to draw.
His gig also wasn't the exact likeness. It was his mind behind it, the idea behind it was pretty good. Really good. It wasn't just off the top of his head. Some people, but that's a challenge. You know? I mean, there's a challenge, and I wake up and I'm like, what's my challenge going to be today? And if I had to draw people all day, that would be my challenge. Do you have a preference? Like, do you prefer to draw people over a thing? Like, is there? I like to draw people over things. Yeah. Is that what you asked?
Yeah. Like, if you preferred.
Yeah.
Like, we had Gretchen Almy on recently, and she horses and dogs. Horses and dogs. Right. Can you draw people? She's like, oh, I guess.
So that's funny. Someone just asked me if I drew horses.
Yeah.
No, dogs.
Yeah. But again, and she kind of said the same thing, that like part of what she really tries to do is to get not just, you can draw a golden retriever to look like a golden retriever, but to kind of capture a little bit of what makes your golden retriever different from other golden retrievers, kind of like a little bit of its personality.
Right.
And that can be hard to translate.
Yeah, I'm not a dog person, but people that love dogs, that they must, they tell me they have personalities. So
but I mean,
to pick up on that,
even trying to get people's personalities sometimes.
It is, yeah.
Maybe that's why that guy Hillary's running mate was hard to. Because I can't remember his name, but like I don't even remember.
You need something to.
I felt like he was kind of bland in general. The research is going to look it up.
I mean, you have to be memorable. I mean, you can't. I mean, it must be more than his looks. It's something about him, but.
And. Is your microphone plugged in?
Maybe. Yeah, it is. Okay, so Hillary Clinton's running mate was Tim Kaine of Virginia.
Tim Kaine, yeah.
He's a senator.
His name is even generic.
At the end of the election, nope.
Yeah.
Nope.
It just was gone.
Nope. And I'm going to close the phone and forget his name immediately again.
Pretty much.
So moving on.
He was fairly likable. I mean, I don't know.
I don't remember much about him.
Yeah. We could get into politics, but I don't think you want to.
I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
I get in trouble for some of my cartoons, and I guess that's the whole point, right? I mean, it's to be controversial. It's not the whole point, but
kind of.
You're making your point.
Yeah, I mean, you're gonna express your view. You're doing it in a caricaturist kind of way, so you're picking up on kind of details in their features, and you're kind of blowing them out of proportion intentionally.
But it's more. I mean, a political cartoon is that's scratching the surface. It's getting to the meaning of what you're drawing about. Yeah.
But I mean, that, like you said, that's the point. It is, you can't you can't draw a bipartisan political cartoon.
No, you can't. So you
So
actually
have to pick a side.
you're picking a side. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is fine with me.
Well, if you're, let me see, if you're on the art side of it, I'm
You're
guessing
right.
you weren't a Trump supporter.
You're correct. Why is that? Why, I mean, I know why, but very.
Well, I mean, even
interesting.
if you're an arts person in general, the fact that the second he got in, he was cutting,
art funds. Yeah.
you're immediately like, well, fuck this guy.
What is he doing?
Yeah.
Right.
But so where you do illustrations for things like textbooks and stuff like that,
Right. So that's
do you try, like, do you ever worry about the, like you say, you get in trouble? I mean, it's not like the, government's knocking on your door. I'm sure you get like some heat about it, but like it's part of the job. Do you ever find that, like, maybe people, when they do research about you, they're like, oh, we don't want to, like, not that you don't want to be associated with them, but do they ever not want to be associated with you where you do political cartoons?
Well, I haven't been doing political cartoons. So the stuff that I'm doing is, basically for learning.
Yeah.
History and science. There's no conflict there with anything.
Do you ever try to sneak something in one of those
something
drawings? Been like, this mummy looks a little Trump-like.
I don't know. That's a good question. If I could do something like that, and pretty soon, because I need to find more of a meaning. I like to make a statement, so maybe it's something I'm gonna have to search out in my art.
Yeah,
how to make more of a mark.
I've done one or two political cartoons, and I did one, but like I don't get them published anywhere. I just kind of did it.
Yeah.
Almost do like you have the idea. I'm like, I just have to get it out of my head, kind of thing.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was doing. But since you're not getting paid for it and you're doing it on your own time, then I submitted a lot of my stuff that I did, and I heard it had merit, but it didn't go far enough. So I might give it another try. I don't know. It depends on what's coming up. I just hope that I don't have to be put into the arena.
Right. But sometimes you just be like, I wish there was not funny things I could make.
It's just like every day I could do a cartoon about him.
Yeah.
It's like, but at what point is it like? It's gonna be different than everybody's doing them. So.
Yeah, but it's the same thing with like the late night hosts and their monologues. They all
Saturday Night Live.
They all talk.
At one point, Saturday Night Live said, it's almost close to reality, and at first it was really funny, and it's still funny, but
right.
But it was really funny when he came on and did it.
Yeah, and now it's like it's funny in that like I have to laugh so I don't cry kind of way.
Yeah, I know.
But I mean, all the late night talk shows talk about him.
Yeah.
And they're all talking about the same thing, but they're not necessarily all making the same joke.
Yeah. Right. That's true.
But it's
but
I said the other day, I'm like, I never thought I'd miss George W.
Yeah. But
now he's downright likable.
But I love what I do. I just like waking up and seeing what's on my table. Sometimes there's nothing, and sometimes there's like way too much. This last job, they threw like 250. I'm up to now illustrations.
Wow.
And they're like little ones, but they don't realize the little ones take a lot of time too.
Right.
Also, and I'm gonna do so much. So, but I do them and I move on, and hopefully, next job is good too, and. It's just.
Have you had one job that really stands out where you're like, I really liked working on that project?
Yeah, well, that would be the Museum of Science job, and that was a number of years now. But I did it for like 3 years. They got a what do you call it when they give you money?
A grant?
Yeah, there's some type of grant for this project, for the elementary project. So
when you said that, I'm like, when they give you money, I'm like, God.
Yeah, I know. A grant. A grant. Yeah. So they had a certain amount of money, and they put it into this. So I did probably about six books. I don't know if they're still there at the museum, but
so kind of like the ones you'd buy in like the gift shop.
In the gift shop. Yeah,
oh, that's cool.
So I did one from El Salvador. I did one from Brazil. I can't remember the countries I did it from, but and the one from Brazil, I said, okay, I don't know anybody from Brazil, so I called my church, and they, were like, the Brazilians went there on Sunday nights, and so I went there, and they were all there, so I approached the family, and I said, could I use you? So I went down their house.
Like, it's funny because we have our life drawings, and I always talk about like, oh yeah, we use that model a lot, and people are like, you use them, and I'm like, well, I don't know how else to.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Yes, we do.
And there's another side story to this, but I'll tell you this one first. Is that so? I went down and I needed the whole family: the mother, father, boy, his friend. So I got his friend over, his sister, and the whole gang was there. And I like posed like this. It was a boy with a soccer ball, and of course, in museum they always have to have. I didn't really like what they did. They had to have him with some kind of deformity, which is fine, but he had one finger less on his hand.
The museum wanted them to have a different.
Well, like someone's in a wheelchair sometimes.
Oh, okay.
Someone's got a crutch.
Yeah.
There's, sometimes I had to draw different, nationalities, but with this one it was all Brazil, so I didn't. It was the cultural thing was set, but now we need somebody with some handicap.
Mm-hmm.
So they picked one finger. So. In all my drawings, it looks like I don't know how to draw a hand right.
Oh,
right?
Yeah.
It's like,
and they're like, no, we want to miss a finger. And you're like,
I had to draw him with 4 fingers. He's like this, and
that's gonna be really frustrating.
Yeah, so I kind of made it like stand out, but I don't know.
Arrow, I know.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing. I know how to draw. So, what was I gonna say on that one? I had an offshoot story to that.
About the family?
No. About the family, about, so, I approached the family, and they said, sure. So, that was a while ago. That was 2006 or so. I did from 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, I think. I did the books, 9. So, recently I needed a model for a boy, a young boy. So, I just... So I saw a family that I met. I met. I kind of know them in the neighborhood. So I saw they were walking. And the little boy there. I said, "Do you mind if I just take a picture?" And me. And she goes, they were very.
And they're like, we prefer if you didn't. And you're like, oh,
exactly. And years ago, I would take neighborhood pictures of all the kids.
It's such a different time.
It is such a different time.
And you're like, I'm not being creepy.
I'm not. I just need a picture of your son. Which sounds creepy.
Sound terrible.
It sounds creepy, but yeah. Oh yeah, I used to do, and I used to do that all the time. Is take pictures of, before the internet, and you couldn't find like what a hand looked like or what someone throwing a baseball looked like, someone climbing a tree.
Right.
So you needed actual like people and cameras and.
Why am I blanking on his name now? He was a famous album and movie poster artist, Drew Struzan. He did like pretty much any 80s movie poster.
Oh, okay.
He was the guy behind it, and he did the Goonies poster, which is all like this weird perspective, like looking down at the kids.
Oh yeah.
Hanging, so they, the one in the
The
foreground is large.
Right.
And so I was watching this documentary about him, and his wife is like, I come home and Drew's got like the neighborhood kids hanging out the bedroom window, and I'm like, what are you doing?
Yeah, that's more or less what I used to do.
Yeah, and it's now you're like, I'm not being creepy. I just need a photo.
Yeah,
reference.
you can't do that anymore.
Yeah,
but I get it. I guess.
Yeah, it's a different time.
It's different times, and I'm not that old. Like can imagine. Norman Rockwell used to do that. Set people up all the time. I was just looking at one of his paintings. He had someone in the water in a lake. And this guy was all set, but they were going to do this in July, but the painting didn't get done until January, so the guy was not going in the lake, so he had to fake it. But everything changed. But
that's part of the
part
of the gig, I guess. Trying to figure out. Is there one part of the scallop shell that you're not looking forward to?
Well, I kind of was hoping that, because I like to draw people.
Yeah.
And I'm actually not drawing people.
Yeah, because where it's Chamber of Commerce, it's featuring businesses, right?
I might, let's see, I'm not sure if they're listening.
I might. They're not listening right now.
No, they're not listening. I might. I mean, we have it set, and I did mine up front and back, and like any job, something might change.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean,
yeah,
and that's what I told Pack TV. I'm like, the sketch is a sketch.
It might slip. The paint might slip.
It's like once you get there and you start figuring out, like, okay, that's not going to work just right, or like I remember when we did the lobsters, they sent us kind of the outline to do the sketch in.
Yeah,
and you did the sketch and you submitted the sketch and they approved the sketch, and then it shows up and you're like, huh. This is 3-dimensional, so the back of the lobster, I can do whatever I want because there was no sketch submitted. Like this has a front and a back, so I was kind of like, let's make some stuff up. So it was...
That back is going to be interesting.
I think I'm going to keep the back pretty simple.
So I have straight lines, so I have to figure out how to draw straight lines over the curves.
Yeah, I was very careful to be like, I'm not doing that.
But there's a challenge again.
Yeah,
it's
to me, it's more the challenge and the time frame, and they wanted it's a very short time, and they wanted text, and I'm like, I'm very flexible, but I'm not going to do text.
Yeah.
So it's.
Are you looking forward to yours?
Yeah, it'll be fun. I had a really good time doing the lobster. I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah.
I'm keeping the back simple because mine's going to be at the spire, so I think the back's almost going to be up. It's not going to be up against, but it's going to be pretty close to the spire.
Uh-huh.
So I just don't feel like people are going to see it much.
Right.
Which will give me more time to focus on the part that people are going to see.
I think mine will be down near the Mayflower.
Oh, nice. That's a good spot.
Yeah.
There's not too many bad spots. There's a few that are kind of tucked away.
Yeah.
But I think it'll be a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I just don't know how I'm going to get in. I have a cheap Wrangler.
I drive a Mini Cooper. But I actually talked to my friend Pepe at Dirty Wire Distillery. Shout out to them. That's where I'm going to paint mine. So I'm like,
you're going to paint it there?
Yeah. So worst case scenario, I'm just going to strap it to a dolly and walk it the half mile down the street. Why not? I mean, it's not far. So
be careful. We're responsible, as it says.
Yeah, I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. Whoops.
But it's a lot of fun. They're going to feed us when we pick them up. That's cool. I got to let work know I'm cutting out early. It's nice. My job's been pretty flexible. They were super great last time. I'm like, when we did the lobsters, I had been there maybe 6 months, and I'm like, can I take a super long lunch because I have to do doing this lobster thing? And they're like, okay.
How many hours do you think you spent on it?
I don't know. A lot of people are like, I spent 70 hours. I
really
time myself.
Yeah.
Did it.
Sometimes I time myself only. Sometimes I hate timing myself, and I don't want to know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I want to know for like if I had to do this again with my info. I have a timer on my computer, and I can just shut it on and off.
Yeah. I think I'm gonna record it, like video record.
Oh yeah.
And put it into a YouTube video or something.
I've done that. I did a mural. I've done murals. I did one in Honduras.
Oh really?
And I did that the stop time.
Oh nice.
Time lapse.
Time lapse.
Yeah. I did it in Georgia too. I did another mural there, and it's interesting. I like it. One was maybe a little long.
How big were the walls?
I did a few murals, but the last one was pretty small. It was maybe the size.
So maybe like 8 foot tall. Like it's not like you're painting the side of a building or something.
It was about 8 foot tall, and then I did something like that. Like I did a school.
Oh,
And yeah, that was too much.
yeah.
It was way too much. But 8 foot by I can't remember how long, but and I did a time lapse
the
on
length
that.
is easier. It's once you start needing like ladders and scaffolding.
There's
and,
nothing in Honduras. No ladders or scaffolding or nothing. But and I did in Georgia. I did time lapse, and I think the smaller the better, because I found that people's attention span wasn't. I think it can handle like a few minutes.
Right.
Yeah. Because I had my 2-week mural I fit into like 8 minutes, but it was still too long for people, I think.
Yeah.
But yeah, the shell. Yeah, I was actually thinking about doing that too.
Yeah, I'm doing that, and I'm also working on a 50-gallon steel drum for the distillery.
Oh,
so,
are you?
Yeah, so I'm kind of. I think I'm going to be doing them kind of back to back.
Oh, they're in the same building.
Yeah, so it'll be nice because if like I get sick of working on one, I can work on the other and bounce back and forth. But
they're all going to have the same colors.
Probably not. It would be smart if I did it that way.
I'm kidding. Yeah.
So
that'd be good, yeah.
Where can our listeners go online to find out information about you or check out your work?
I have a number of websites. Let me see. You could just Google my name, I guess. Keith Favazza. Let's see. I had one here.
And that's Favazza. For those of us who can't spell.
Right. And yeah, I'm on a couple of websites.
Then you have like is it keithfavazza.com?
Yeah. That's my website. I haven't touched that in a while, but I have some from my rep. It's Wendy Lynn and Company. So yeah, that's that on that card there. I also have another one with the children's illustrations, but I think if you Google my name, you'll find all that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Will we find old Child World illustrations?
I think I scanned a few in, but they're pretty raw.
Yeah, it's just so funny. As soon as I saw that, I nerded out. I'm like, oh my god!
Where did you see that? You must.
I think it was on your website.
Oh, really? I thought it was.
I think there was like a
resume.
Yeah,
on the resume. Yeah.
And I was just kind of at a glance to see like what you'd done, and then
well,
being a child of the '80s, I keyed in that like instantly.
Truthfully, I was I had a job before that lasted a year and a half, but that was like my first real job, and I was the best first job. Just getting up and drawing. It was like, yeah, okay, this
fun,
is great
stuff too.
Yeah.
So, well, Keith, I appreciate you coming to talk to us.
Oh, thank you.
It was a good time, and I can't wait to see your oyster. I always want to say oyster. It's a scallop shell.
The scallop roll. Yeah, I can't wait to see yours either, because I know your subject, and sounds like it's going to be cool.
It'll be interesting.
Yeah.
Art by committee is always unique.
Yeah.
But I had a great time with the lobsters, and I think this one's going to be just as much fun. And
right.
So.
Yeah. This is my first big one.
Oh, so
no, I did the chair last year.
Yeah,
but I didn't do a lobster.
I just went to. So at the end of the lobster thing, they auctioned them off.
Yeah.
And I was in Vegas at the time, and so I told a friend of mine at the auction, I'm like, oh, you have to let me know what it goes for. So I'm getting these texts. It's up to $800. It's up to $1,000. It's up to $1,200. I'm like, you are lying. And she's like, nope. It sold for $3,000.
Wow.
And I'm like, you have to find out who get me his contact information, find out who did that. So long story
short, I heard you say that.
Yeah. So he just invited me to his cookout, like his big summer kickoff cookout, and he put the lobster out by the pool. A super nice guy. And
so that's where it's staying, by the pool?
Yeah, it's staying by this pool.
Yeah.
Like he put a concrete pad in with like bolts sticking up, so like he can bolt it down and then take it in during the winter.
Really?
Yeah. And the coolest part was this family showed up, and this little girl's like, "Oh my God, it's Claudia!" Like instantly knew who it was. So it's very cool.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But
that's cool.
Yeah. So I'm sure.
And why did he pick yours? He just liked yours.
The family who, like his mother's family, I'm not sure exactly how it works out.
Yeah.
Has a permit for lobster traps,
Oh.
and the buoy that was attached to my lobster was the same colors as their
Oh, okay. They
permit colors or whatever.
They found the connection.
Yeah, so, but from what I heard is like they started off kind of on the lower end, and then as the night went on and there were fewer and fewer lobsters, people got more and more aggressive bidding.
Oh,
And
really?
So it depended on like when your lobster
So
went
the
up.
first lobster probably
Went
didn't-
for,
yeah.
I mean, I had talked to the auctioneer, and he's like, I thought maybe they were going to go for maybe $500, but I don't think anything went
Wow.
for less than $8.
Wow.
Up to
That's great.
over $6,000.
Yeah.
So
Wow.
it'd be nice if we saw some of that money, but
Yeah.
we know going in we're not, and it goes back to the arts in the town, so I don't care. But
Does it? Yeah.
yeah. So,
Right.
but thanks for coming in,
Oh, thank you, Andy.
and I'm sure we'll see you around the oyster shells this next couple of years. And
Scallop.
Scallop, I said oyster again, didn't I? I do that every time. Scallop.
Scallop. And it's going to be a scallop roll.
Scallop roll,
Yeah.
which is
it
what
was
they're
a lobster crawl and the scallop roll.
yeah, which is what they're feeding us
Yes.
at pickup.
We
So,
have one scallop roll each.
I don't know.
Yeah. I'll
Jordan
see.
Speedwell's hooking us up, so
Oh,
he
yeah.
usually takes care of people,
Yeah,
so
yeah.
I'm sure there'll be plenty. But show up early. All right, thanks again.
Okay.
Thanks for listening.
Thank you, Andy.
Okay, thanks for checking out the podcast. And don't forget to check out our other podcasts on the Inebri-art Podcast Network. There's the Bar Talk. There's Old Colony Cast. There's, of course, the Inebri-art Podcast. And our latest, Retro Redoctopus, a kind of nerd genre podcast that you can check out now, all available on our website at inebri-art.com. And pretty much available everywhere that podcasts are available, on Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Apple Podcasts, all those things. And if you don't see it where you're looking, let us know. We'll try to get onto that as well. And you can also email us at inebri-art@yahoo.com with your questions, complaints, and suggestions. And also, if you could take the time to rate and review us on iTunes, that would be phenomenal. That helps us get more exposure and bring more of these great podcasts to your ears. And thanks again for listening.